What's up guys, Cloudie here checking in from the America server, and today after Fallen Fray we are gonna talk about Dark Lord Kasel, the new hero, see what we can do, how he works and what we can expect from him. So let's just check him out real quick, see about all the stuff he has. If I can find him, he's so far down the list. Don't mind the gear, it's placeholder, just what I was doing to test him. So let's just go through his skills first. So of course he's the fallen version of Kasel, and he's infused with the power of darkness. Because of this, he has a base attack increase of 35k plus this, and his attacks always hit, that's interesting, but his skills require dark energy to use. So he doesn't use mana, he uses dark energy, which he just stacks up with normal attacks. His normal auto attack sequence stacks like 8 of these dark energy stacks, so you can expect him to last a while with that, or take a while to get it up. By default, the dark energy can be stacked up to 40 times and cannot be removed, so that's important to know that you can't dark energy burn him by the spells or anything. Now, if you check his other skill, which is also very important, is the Advent of the Dark Lord. This is similar to S3 of normal Kasel. He enters the Dark Lord state for 20 seconds, dealing damage, and all of his skills become enhanced. He gains immunity to CC, and his normal attacks deal additional damage. So this is kind of similar to his normal S3. This requires 25 or more stacks of dark energy, and when he uses this skill, he consumes all stacks he currently has, and for every stack, he gains 2000 attack and 10 penetration. So if you go with the normal build and have 40 stacks, that's 80,000 attack and 400 penetration. And of course this also should increase his attack boost. So that's pretty OP. And this is a 25-second cooldown and a 20 seconds uptime. So almost full uptime, not quite there. But of course we have cooldown reduction heroes, so this becomes quite interesting. He can actually be constantly in the Dark Lord phase. Now the Judgment Blade, this was his normal Kasel attack. Attacks in straight line 2 times, dealing damage and preventing enemies from recovering mana for 2 seconds. So kind of a PvP skill, but also useful in some of the recent PvE content. If he is in the Dark Lord state, then he will add one more attack, which will also have a knockdown effect. So that actually makes it 3 attacks for like double the damage, sort of, almost. And yeah, and this really needs 5 or more stacks of dark energy. So basically you need 5 stacks. That's one sequence of auto attacks. It stacks pretty fast. His other skill, Doom, is like explodes and attacks frontal enemies in a straight line 3 times, so does AoE damage in front of him. If you are in the Dark Lord state, however, it will pull in the furthest enemy like Demia does in PvP. So this kind of seems like a PvP skill, not that much of a PvE one. Requires 15 or more stacks. The damages are also kind of meh, to be honest. Yeah, so basically Dark Lord state where he gains enhanced abilities, does more auto attack damage, and all of his skills are enhanced. So that's what you want to keep up on him. Now if you go to his Transcendence Perks, this is what I was running and what was working for me as the most damage in his test, but of course it's kind of limited because I do not have his unique weapon and so on and so on. But let's just see what we do. So we have the standard tier 1, tier 2 perks. Tier S1 Light increases the damage by 80%, but you also need 10 more dark energy to use, so that makes it 15 dark energy. In my tests, if I was using this perk, then the damage increased by about 15%. Otherwise, actually, it wasn't really worth using Judgment Blade during his darkness form. We have his dark skill increases sorry guys, I can't speak today. Increases the duration of disabling mana recovery by 2 seconds. So it means, I guess this is more of a PvP skill, or if you really wanted that mana disabling thing in some PvE content. Next up, increases P damage the hit targets take by 30% for 10 seconds. Now this looks kind of interesting, but in my test this wasn't really working. So this is a 15-second cooldown and a fairly long cast time. So and then just having 10 seconds of increase in P damage wasn't that really, great really. Um, it seemed to me it wasn't really worth casting this skill either during or outside darkness phase. So actually when I was testing I got the best results when I wasn't casting it at all. And the dark skill is inflict stun on enemies instead of knocking them away. So I guess this is the PvP version that you would want to pick up if you were gonna PvP with him. Now, Advent of the Dark Lord Light increases P block chance by 400 for the duration of the skill. Not quite sure why it would be P block and how this makes sense. If he's a DPS, he's not really requiring P block, I guess. So I don't really understand this perk. Maybe PvP if you want him to be more tanky, but still kind of weird. The other one is increases damage of normal attacks by 50% for the duration of the skill. So yeah, basically you can just auto attack with him while you are in the Dark Lord form, or you can also pick this skill and then use this on cooldown. It has an 8-second cooldown, so you can use it a couple of times while you are in Dark Lord form. Moving on, S4, at the beginning of each battle gains 10 stacks of dark energy. That I guess for fast stages or PvP. Remember in PvP you can use his S1, or not just in PvP, anywhere you can use his S1 for 5 stacks. So if you start with 10 you can immediately use it as soon as he's in melee range, and it prevents mana gain. So kind of seems like either a PvP skill or something with fast stages where you just want to start out with some energy right away. But for real PvE stuff, this seems a lot more interesting. The limitation to it is that it only is active when there is one enemy, and it says gains 2 additional stacks of dark energy, which is a bit misleading because again Vespa translations are Pepega. This is just doubling, so when your normal auto attack sequence does 8 stacks, then with this perk you do 16 stacks. I have tested that on the training dummy, so it doesn't triple your stack gains, it doubles it, but still on a single target with this you are really golden. You will never run out of dark energy even if you spam all your skills. Now we have his tier 5 dark. Normal attacks increase own attack by 1% and damage dealt to bosses by 1% for 20 seconds. This effect can be stacked up to a maximum of 30 times and is irremovable. So basically you can get a 30% attack bonus and a 30% bonus to bosses, which is not bad at all. In comparison, Cecilia gets 100% with a tier 5 unique treasure, but she also takes a lot of time to stack this up. Basically this with auto attacks goes up super fast, so it's really easy to stack. So for a single target boss, this would be the build I would use. If you give him extra TP, then one of the tier 2 perks or tier 5 light could be good, depending on what the gear is that you have. Now speaking of gear, let's check his unique gear. I don't really have much of it. I'm not focusing on him, so I have to use the index for most stuff. So this is his unique weapon. It says normal and skill attacks reduce the heal rate of target by 1% for 10 seconds and have a 35 chance of dealing additional physical damage equal to 100% of attack. So heal reduction and extra damage proc. The heal rate reduction effect can be stacked up to 12 times, and then this can go up all the way to 2.5. So that's a pretty decent, like 30, yeah, that's at maximum a 30% heal reduction. Could be nice for PvP if you are facing wall decks maybe, and 250% attack proc, so not too bad actually. This kind of seems like you really want him to auto attack a lot, so yeah. Moving on, let's check his unique treasures. Let's sort for warriors. This is his first one, and I guess this is actually the best unique treasure that you can have for him. Let's see, it increases damage dealt to non-hero enemies by 12% and crit damage by 80% during Dark Lord state. Now if you put this to 5-star, that's a 30% non-hero damage and 80% crit damage during Dark Lord state. And as I have mentioned, if you have a Priscilla, then you can actually keep this up for 100% of the time. So yeah, this is pretty nice. Now he has, with his tier 5 Dark, 30% boss damage and 30% non-hero damage. In comparison, again, Cecilia has 20% from her S2. So in this, he suppresses Cecilia, but she has a lot more boss damage. So I think on long fights, she still is gonna win, unless Kasel has some like stupid level of scaling with other stuff. Now moving on, let's see what other choices you might have. Increases the damage and changes the number of fooled enemies to 2 during Dark Lord state. So seems like PvP if you wanted to do double pulls. This is kind of like the Mia. I'm not sure if this is really worth. Imagine if my skills aren't just jumping around or my clicks because my mouse is being broken. Sorry, that was Visco. What's his last one? I should have his, yeah, this one. This is for Judgment Blade, increases damage and dispels positive effects from target. Now remember that you can make him, this is I think a PvP one, unless you really want the dispel, but remember that he can start with 10 stacks of dark energy or darkness, so he can immediately cast his S1 if you build him for PvP, and it means that with this unique treasure he can also immediately dispel, so he can counter like bow teams, for instance. Not bad actually. So, and he can spam this at every 8 seconds, so yeah, this seems pretty interesting. And finally we have the one for S4. One Fall into Darkness changes the maximum number of stacks, and normal attacks have a 35% chance of stacking one additional stack. So this can go up to 90 stacks. Remember, from 40 he can now go to 90, which means that instead of 40 times 2000 he gets 90 times 2000 attack and also 100 penetration. So this is a pretty massive attack and penetration boost if you can tier T5 it. But I would think that non-hero damage still is the way to go. It just scales better because it goes on top of your multipliers. You will need some testing, but I believe that's what actually will do more damage. Although the attack and the penetration boost is pretty massive, so you won't really go too wrong with this, I think, but I would say the other one is better. That gives the non-hero damage. 30% is for sure a lot. Not to mention it also gives 80% crit damage, so I think that one is the one that will win. Also remember that from Frey he receives pretty decent buffs like attack and attack speed, so probably Fallen Frey will be his best friend after Priscilla, who helps him keep up his Dark Lord form continuously, and then he can just whack away with auto attacks and S1. Now I do not have his soul weapons, and that's a bit hard to tell what it does, so we will rely on Vespa's post here. Let's just check. Dark Lord Kasel soul weapon activation requirement can be activated by dealing damage 80 times, so that's not too bad. Unique skill summons the soul of the corrupted sword for 10 seconds, increases attack by 50%, and judges enemies when using skills. Okay, so you need to use the skill after this. Deals physical damage. If you use Judgment Blade, it deals physical damage with the highest attacker, and then targets nearby. It reduces their mana, so it seems like very PvP oriented. Doom deals physical damage with higher penetration, so this skill has a 500 penetration bonus, and the targets so one to the highest attacker and the targets nearby. Okay, again kind of PvP oriented. Advancement phase 1 activation requirement is reduced from 80 to 60. The mana reduction effect from Judgment Blaze goes up to 2000. Yes, still PvP. Advancement phase 2, the soul of the corrupted holy sword will now be summoned for 15 seconds and will increase damage dealt to enemies by a further 20%. So he gains a 20% damage dealing bonus for 15 seconds as well as the 50% attack bonus, plus of course the other skills. Yeah, so that's really Dark Lord Kasel for you guys. I think on very fast fights he might be compatible or competitive, not compatible, whatever I'm saying. I do not think that he will beat Cecilia in physical content, but he's pretty strong when built. He can be useful. As I could see on multi-stages, his stack gain is a bit slow because you can't use the tier 4 or S4 Dark perk. In that case, you might want to use his other unique treasure that can help with that. But yeah, all in all, he seems like fun enough to play, also kinda auto attack related. Not sure if you guys like that or not. From his kit, I think he's more of a PvP hero than PvE really, but he can definitely be used in PvE. I have seen people clearing like the previous Dark Lord raid with him at like 1 star or something. So he's definitely not useless in PvE, but I do not think that he will dethrone Cecilia. But I guess we get to find out next week when Proteanus comes up, and then some people who have whaled him will get the chance to give it a go. So yeah, let me guys, what you think? Which one do you like more, Fallen Frave or Dark Kasel? For me, with my team comps and with the units I have built, it's definitely Fallen Fray, but I'm curious what you guys think. So let me know. And until then, this has been Cloudie. See you in the next one. Bye bye.